Hey guys, okay, so on Tuesday we looked at SPSS on how to do a frequency table and how to do a histogram of a variable in SPSS. And we looked at this file, the lop.save, that's available on Canvas. And specifically we looked at how do we get a frequency table here of the number of words recalled at the end of an experiment done in class. So just as a reminder of how to do that frequency table, the first thing you need to do is go to Analyze, down to Descriptive Statistics, and over to Frequencies. Then if you grab the word that you want and move it over into the variables list, then you'll get if you just do that, you'll get a frequency table for your variable. You can also ask for a chart. In this case, we're going to ask for a histogram and hit continue. And also, if you want to get the median or other descriptives, just go to statistics. Also, the quartiles will be helpful here. So if you want to get the semi-interquartile range, hit continue then. Now if you hit OK, it'll plot our variable. So you get the median from the number of words recalled is 9. The percentiles, the 25th percentile is 5, and the 75th percentile is 11. So you could use that to calculate the semi-interquartile range if you needed to. You have your frequency table here, which is okay. The SPSS doesn't tend to group your variable into class intervals, so you can end up with just a huge number of rows in your frequency table. But if you need it, if we ask you for it, there it is. There's your frequency table. And down below, here's your histogram. Now, as we mentioned in the lecture the lecture video for Thursday, and in class, this distribution of scores looks, it's kind of messy, but it does look like there's two modes. It looks like there's something here around 10 or 11 words recalled, and it looks like there's something down here at 5 words recalled. And I think it's reasonable to ask, well, are there really two modes here, or is this just random noise? Well, if there are two modes here, then you might expect there are two different groups involved. So what we're measuring, our dependent measure, is the number of words recalled out of 18. And if one set of scores tends to cluster around 11 and the other tends to cluster around 5, it's interesting to ask, well, why might that be? Well, if you go back to the data set, recall that there's actually 4 variables in this data set. The one we've been looking at is the number of words recalled. Another dependent measure is the number of words recalled on a retest. So people were given the same memory test after a weekend with no practice. And so for some people, we can ask how many words did they recall on the second test. I'm not going to worry about that today. We also have these 2 other variables here, one class and one group. And as you might remember in the first video, I've attached labels. So even though I put in a 1 for some of the groups, 2 for other groups, the 1 and the 2 really stand for what group the person was in. And if you click on value labels, you can see what group they're in. And we'll talk a little about what these groups mean in class, but in general, the category group was given a different set of instructions than the vowels consonants group. And so we might wonder if the group, so if one of the groups tended to have a different distribution of scores than the other, and maybe that accounts for our bimodal distribution. So it would be really nice if we could look at these data separately for the people who are in the category group and the vowels consonants group. In SPSS, this can be done. It's neither easy nor hard. So it's just average, whatever that means. Go to Data. If you want to look at just a subset of your scores, go to Data and drop down to Select Cases. Each case would be one row in your SPSS file as we've set it up here. You hit select cases. What we're going to say is right now we're using all of our data. Instead, let's say we're going to use our data only if a condition is satisfied. And that condition is going to be that if group is equal to 1, then we'll use it. If you hit continue, you'll see now this is a condition. We're using if the condition is satisfied, and that condition is if the group is equal to 1, then we will include those cases. In SPSS in your output, you'll see some output showing that it has now run a filter to select some of the cases. If you go back to your data file now, over here on the left-hand side, you'll see these little diagonal slashes. What that means is this is a case that is not included anytime you see that slash. If you flip back to the numbers, you'll see that anytime there's a 2 or not a 1 here in the group, you get a slash. So now the only data we're going to use in our analyses is every case where group was equal to 1. So at that point, if you go back and you rerun your frequencies, what you'll find is now the median is 11 rather than 9, and the 25th quartile is 10, and the 75th quartile is 13. And if you look at your histogram now, notice you have the single mode around 11. It's mostly symmetrical. Maybe there's a little bit of positive skew, but still a nice mode around 11, and very few scores down below 9. And if you go back and switch from just looking at group 1, the category group, to group 2, the vowels consonants group, so now we've changed that condition. If you run that analysis one more time, you can see the histogram for the vowels consonants group. And now the median is only 5 instead of 11, with an interquartile range from 4 to 7.75. And now notice instead of having a mode up near 11, you have this nice mode around 5, and you've got some positive skew to your distribution. In part that's because you probably can't go below 0. But in general, it really does look like the reason we saw 2 modes in our original distribution, or what looked like 2 modes, is that the category group and the vowels consonants group had very different distributions. And when you added those 2 together, you got kind of this lumpy mess where you had 2 modes. And so then we can start thinking a little bit about, well, what is it that made the vowels consonants and the category group different? And I'll tell you it was the type of instructions they were given. And then we can start to ask about, well, what does that difference mean? But yeah, so this is one way if you wanted to explore distribution in more detail, you can select out just sub-cases to look at. All right. Well, thanks, guys, and I will end this one here.